This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taylor one, he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic! Here's Bob Williams. And he's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah! Forest Sale, Premier League!
Hello and welcome to Red Side of the Trent as we look to reflect on the 3-2 loss at home to Newcastle, leaving Forest in 16th place, 2 points above the relegation zone on 21 points. Alongside me to join us in a chat about all this is Lee Clark and Reiss Lane. Obviously, we're going to touch on the Bristol City game and the FA Cup as well. Fortunately, Christian, he is off gallivanting away in Sweden for this one. We're going to get right into it, chaps, because obviously, as Reiss reiterated to me just before we went live, this is the same old things, different weekend, obviously. Reiss, we'll start with you. It's one change from the last Premier League lineup that we had against Bournemouth, which saw Moussa Niakhaté return from AFCON duty in place of Andrew Omobamidele. Did you think that was a bit harsh on Omobamidele, first of all, and was you pretty pleased with the lineup overall?
Yeah, I thought that was harsh because I think Omobamidele's done really well for us. I'm a fan of Niakhaté, so at least with him coming back in, you've got someone in who's capable. But yeah, it was a little bit harsh. The forward line pretty much picked itself. You could argue maybe about a choice of centre mids because you've kind of got Danilo could be in there, but I thought the team was a fair selection, really. There was nothing where I looked at the team and thought, oh, I worry about this, worry about that. I thought it was a decent team and a team what was picked what I thought we could win the game with.
Just before I go on to Lee about something, Reiss, what did you think of the Newcastle side? Because obviously they were very much like injury stricken, and Anthony Gordon obviously managed to recover from last week's injury. But what did you think they were there to be gotten at?
Well, with the so-called perceived bigger clubs, if you want to say that, this injury-stricken kind of thing gets knocked about. I'm sure we've probably had as many players missing as them, really. I'm just trying to think who was missing for them. Pope, Joel Linton, Isak. That was about it. Harvey Barnes come back on the bench. So they're missing. So what, they're missing 3 players, maybe 3 or 4 players. Well, we're missing Sangare, we're missing Bolly, we're missing Aina. That's off the top of my head. So, you know, everyone's got injuries and missing players. It just seems in the media in this country, you only got an injury crisis if you wanted like the bigger clubs. It seems to quote Richard Masters.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was clear as we saw in the away game, it was clear how we'd worry them, and we did that in the first half several times. And to be honest, Dan Burn couldn't cope with Elanga in behind the pace, and that's something annoyingly we didn't really do in the second half, as we'll come on to.
Yeah, Lee, great start to the game from both sides, really. But we had probably the first big chance of the game. Tyrell Wundy running through the centre of the pitch, which is something that is not really something he does very often. But great pass to Nuno Tavares, who thankfully actually put his foot on the ball and showed a bit of composure for once and picked out Morgan Gibbs-White, and he put that one wide, and he should definitely score, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he
or at
should.
least hit the target.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I think he should have hit the target. We actually said at the time, you want that to fall to Gibbs-White, but you don't want it to kind of fall for him to have to hit it on his left foot. Yeah, it kind of it would have set the tone, that, wouldn't it? I think if we'd have gone in front then, you probably look at it and it's a different game altogether. I genuinely felt that if we'd gone in front at any point yesterday, we'd have probably won the game. I just think when I've watched Newcastle, when they've been playing away this season, they have a lot of impetus in terms of when the game's level. I remember the Bournemouth game when they got beat and Bournemouth was struggling at the time. as soon as they went behind, that was it. So yeah, it was really frustrating. But yeah, like you say, I can't really say anything else. He's got to, for a player of his ilk, he's got to do better in that situation, I think.
Yeah, and then following up, it's kind of like textbook Forest, especially when you read it in commentary text. Is Forest missed big chance, then the next big thing is Newcastle score, and it's another set play. It's getting very, very tiresome talking about it. But that back post area, I mean, I think someone, I think Reiss said it in the chat actually, that it was like an exercise of Newcastle's of switching play to Anthony Gordon, who seems to be free left hand side all the time. I mean, it's a well worked corner in some aspects, but it's avoidable again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it's funny because, like I said, I don't like to throw people under the bus and that sort of stuff. But I think if Montiel plays, everyone says, "Oh, it's come from his side of the pitch again." And you've kind of got. Yesterday I just thought all game the fullbacks would be our downfall, and the first goals come from the right hand side, our right hand side, should I say? Um, yeah, it's a well worked move. Don't get me wrong; it looks amazing. I think if you're watching it as a neutral, you kind of don't even mention the defending. You kind of just say, it's a great finish, it's a great goal, but yeah, it's completely avoidable. It just seemed to me like we weren't switched on. I mean, we must know that they've got these little things in the locker. These bigger clubs do, they clearly work on that sort of stuff. And yeah, it just seemed to me like none of us were really switched on. And it's kind of, like I say, it was a good finish, but it's very, very easy. And it's another goal from a set piece, which is getting, well, the situation with set pieces in terms of defending is just getting perilous, isn't it? It's a real concern. And at the minute, ultimately, the goals we keep conceding from set pieces are sending us down. It is factual.
Reiss?
Yeah, I mean, watching the highlights, I have no idea whose man Reiss is. He's just lurking on the edge of the box unmarked, and then he's ghosting at the back stick unmarked, and there's literally nobody, I think, who even looks at him. Like Lee said, it was a good finish, took it well on the volley, but when you're unmarked, a player of his calibre, what did they pay for him? 60-odd million. There's been talk about Barcelona maybe bidding 100 million for him, his release clause, I believe. It's easy for these type of players, isn't it? We saw that last season when we stood off players from 25 yards out and they pinged it in the top corner. They clearly worked on these routines because they know we can't defend set pieces. And, the decision to let a manager bring in a set piece coach who was on the verge of getting sacked rather than the club appointing one who was an actual specialist set piece coach as well. I just find that baffling, to be honest.
I mean, I think what my pet hate is that we don't leave players up, and we've brought everyone back. Yet there's going to be players that aren't actually marking at anyone. So you've got people that could have gone marked Kieran Trippier, who's arguably maybe in the top two of best deliveries in the Premier League. So it's maybe top three because you've got to put Trent in there as well as Ward-Prowse. So yeah, it's just for me, it's so avoidable. It's so avoidable. But we move on because Reiss, we did get back into the game fairly quickly. Alanga had a good chance before he actually did score. First of all, he probably has to do better with that first one, but the second one is inch perfect pass from Gibbs White, and Alanga does finally find the corner. Talk us through those two moments in the game?
Well, I mean, the first one, he probably has to put a bit of loft on that, doesn't he? Because he's coming in from an angle. So he's probably got to try and get that above the Bravka. The second one, he's down the middle on it, and it's a brilliant goal from our perspective. Like you said, Adam, the pass is weighted to perfection, and the run from Alanga is superb. Times the run to perfection. And I mean, Dan Burn couldn't cope with him first half. And then he's obviously got to the ball first, and once he slid it through Dubravka's legs, it's 1-1. It was kind of like the Blackstock goal, wasn't it, against them from many moons ago, where he slid it past the keeper, and there was kind of no stopping it. Then I think everyone was celebrating before it had rolled into the back of the net. So a brilliant goal from our perspective. I thought, the Gibbs White chance aside, I thought before that first goal, I thought it was a training exercise for Newcastle. Like I said, I thought that they must have switched the play from the right to left, and Gordon was unmarked half a dozen times in the first 10 minutes. But once we got that goal, And in between them getting what turned out to be the winner, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic game of football. The crowd got up because there was actually some challenges being put in by us, and it was a proper battle. It's just once again we're on the wrong end of it, and it's just such a shame, really. But
Yeah, I mean,
that was a brilliant goal. Brilliant
yeah.
goal.
I mean, I'm sorry, Lee, I'm coming to you for all the Newcastle goals so far, but one Forest seemed to look like they're getting on top in terms of chances and kind of like keeping Newcastle a bit at bay. It's another goal that we let in where a set piece has come and we've let the ball bounce, for crying out loud. You learn about that when you're about 11, not letting the ball bounce. I take nothing away from Fabian Schär because it is a good finish at the end of the day, but it's avoidable again. It's like the set piece is like straight at us. It's not even come from an angle. That's the worst of it for me.
Yeah, I actually think the worst thing for me is how high we were. I think there's 2 minutes till half time. And I know that in hindsight we went an equaliser before half time, but I just think at that point you set your line up on the edge of the 18 for me, and that space in behind then is instantly you say to the keeper, right, anything in here, you come and get it. It was just it just looked strange. It looked far too high. And then to compound it, you've got I think we had Yates, who's supposed to be a prowess in the air, apparently, marking their biggest man. I'm not going to criticise him for that. I mean, the guy's probably got a foot on him. I mean, I think Byrne and Botman were both literally next to Ryan Yates and I think Dominguez. Why are they marking? It just didn't make any sense. It just looked messy and it looked really unorganised. Yeah, it was just too high for me. I think I admire Nuno for wanting his team to play like that, but I just think at that time in the game, with a couple of minutes to go till the break, you kind of sit in and you pick your moments to be brave and show that sort of kind of tenacity to set you and say, look, you're not going to score here. But it was a good finish again. Of all the players it falls to the player who took the net off in the first game of the season last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the big thing for me. I thought the defensive line was just a little bit too high for me.
Yeah, just so you can have a positive before we get into some negatives, Lee. I'll give you the Callum Hudson-Odoi goal because it is good link-up play. It's good to see Hudson-Odoi in this kind of. He's starting slowly to get into a bit of a rhythm, I find, and I know it takes a massive deflection, but I think the link-up play between him and Dominguez is pretty good, and then he's obviously in confident mood to take it on again, isn't he?
Yeah, it is a confidence thing with him. I think when we first signed him, one thing that I really liked about him was that whenever he gets it, he seems to want to drive into the box so that the defender can't touch him. That is I think that was a confident Callum Hudson-Odoi, someone who he can get it, and his first instinct is to think, right, I'm either going to create something or I'm going to score a goal here. So yeah, he looked much better yesterday, and I think some of the criticism he's been getting anyway, he's been a little bit harsh. I think as a winger, you're either in the game or you're not. I think it was funny because another frustrating thing, I'm sure we'll get onto it, is that Alanga and Burns are a complete mismatch. We saw that in the away game, and we just never did it enough. There was a couple of times when he burned him for pace, and we just never got him on the ball enough. And it was kind of similar with Hudson-Odoi. I think when he gets it, he can be really probing, and he can, he's got it in the locker to create something. And it was actually nice to see us get a bit of luck. I think we've had so many chances like that where it's hit someone and it's maybe gone out for a corner or straight to the keeper. But so yeah, it was nice to kind of get that, that bit of luck. But I guess it would have been nicer if we'd have got a bit of luck with other stuff, which I'm sure we'll come on to as well.
Yeah, I mean that is the next point in case, Reiss, and Lee, we will bring you on this because obviously ref watch and all that. But I didn't know Matt Sells had this kick in him. It was really old school Route 1 kind of thing, and the one he's gone through at the start of the second half, where I thought Forest were, I thought we was really good. I thought it was excellent, like in terms of like putting the pressure on Newcastle. They looked like they couldn't really get out there half the time, but when he goes through, kind of makes a meal of it because I think he should actually get his shot away, but then he's brought down by Dubravka and Anthony Taylor waves it away, and VAR don't change their mind either. Let's start the debate on it, I guess.
Well, I mean, we'll start with Sells' kicking. He can punt a ball, can't he? I know that. He proper puts his foot through the ball, which is good to see, and get us up the pitch. I mean, the kick's incredible. It would have got him an assist, which I can't remember. That's a start, isn't it? I wonder who the last Forest keeper to get an assist, if there ever has been one. Yeah, so once it's got over the top and it's kind of bouncing the box, to be honest, really a striker for me should be whacking it there. The pace is on the ball once it's bouncing. Put your foot through it. You know, if Tyro would have done that, how he'd finished the goal, what was offside, which was a superb finish, we would have been 3-2 up. And then he's kind of stumbling into, and he's never really got control of the ball. Now, when Dubravka comes out, Tyro's has got to kind of hurdle him, and that's when Dubravka's arm does come up. You know, and it makes contact. There's no doubt about that. It makes contact. I've seen a few people saying, he chucked himself to the ground, and I don't agree with that at all. There's contact, and there's a definite fair shout for a penalty there, without a doubt. I mean, the caveat to it is you can say, well, he's stumbling a little bit and he's not really in control of the football. But Dubravka raises his arm as he comes out to him. For me, that is where I think VAR should be saying to the ref, come and have a look at this, please. See what you think. And you know what? If the referee turns around and says, no, I'm happy with what I've gone with, then we have to accept it. But the fact that I don't think he's even being asked to come and even have a look, I was disappointed in that personally. I mean, the fact that I really like Alan Shearer as a pundit. I think he's really balanced, etc. I know he's a Newcastle man. Even he said it was a penalty. So we've got a very, very fair shout for it. It's just disappointing. I think that didn't get reviewed. That's what I kind of expect VAR to be for, to be honest. But we was never going to get it when we come on. I put in our group chat after 3 minutes. There was a nudge in the back on Taiwo. Taylor didn't give it. They have a nudge in the back. Oh, he blows the whistle. You could see from the outset what you're going to get from these referees. The inconsistencies, the bias towards the supposed teams higher up the league. I mean, and then the second half, I don't think he wanted to give anything, really. There was several instances where he just which we have said we don't mind letting the game flow. But, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it will go down well at Forest again. It wouldn't surprise if there's another letter again, which, doesn't look good on our...
just a copy and paste job, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Lee, obviously, I think Reiss has kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, Jamie Redknapp kind of went through it and explained what Reiss said about...
Yeah, that was a good explanation. His arm definitely comes up. No one can deny his arm don't come up.
Yeah.
I get people saying, look, it might in one, but it's not totally black or white that it ain't a penalty or it definitely is. I think people's got a point, but that's where really I think they should get the referee to come over and have a look, see what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Newcastle got an equally soft one at their place on Boxing Day is something, Lee. But I think a lot of people will draw back to Anthony Taylor giving Diego Jota a penalty where he went down maybe a second or two straight after he got touched. It wasn't even
Taiwo's is miles more than that. Yeah, and to be honest, do you know what? That probably played in the back of his head, that decision, because he got pillared for that, and rightly so. And he's apparently meant to be the second best ref in this country. Standard's not good enough. And what we'll get is ref support UK on TalkSport this week, defending them to the hill and thinking he's doing a good job by supporting them when he can't accept that they make mistakes. And then he wonders why they get abused.
Yeah, I mean, this is a problem I have with ref support. And yeah, refs need supporting at my level. Of course they do. I mean, we turn up for 30, 40 quid. And the abuse we get sometimes is absolutely shocking. They need support at that level on God knows how much a year, plus a ridiculous match fee. If Anthony Taylor is in the top 2 in this country, then we are seriously struggling. He is absolutely shocking. He was shocking from minute 1 yesterday. He was absolutely dreadful. And like Reiss has just said, it's just not good enough. Clearly that was playing in his... But why is Anthony Taylor getting a Newcastle game weeks after Newcastle have been on the wrong end of a decision? How many refs have we got? We've got a pool of referees. Why does Anthony Taylor need to be reffing Newcastle 3 weeks after he's done a major balls up? It's just, it's absolutely... I mean, I've just seen as well that I've always said that when Taylor gets like Man U and Liverpool, people go on, don't they, and say, oh, Manchester. Yesterday's VAR was Tony Harrington. Tony Harrington's not even an established Premier League referee yet. Why was Tony Harrington ever going to press the button and say, I think you've made a mistake there, Anthony? He's just never going to do it. And this is where I come back to, where it needs to be specialist VARs. It shouldn't be referees who are trying to make the way up the ladder. They're never going to turn around to someone like Anthony Taylor and say, I think you've made a mistake there. I just think, and another thing that I have a problem with as well, if that's a FIFA game, if that's a Champions League game or in the World Cup, that sort of stuff, they check everything. So they would probably turn around to the ref and say, there's definitely contact there, you need to go over and check that. In the Premier League, we like to make our own rules up, and they just want to, for want of a better phrase, they want to keep the bigger clubs happy, don't they? So, I mean, are you telling me if that's Celts on Callum Wilson, I wonder if Taylor's getting a little buzz in his ear saying, "Go and have a look at that," because I think there's contact there. Like Reiss has just said as well, it's clumsy from Awoniyi. Awoniyi should score. The chance he actually scored when it was disallowed was probably a more difficult chance, to be fair. But I just think it's not even. It's embarrassing. It's not even close. And I've got rose tinted glasses on because I'm a Forest fan. But the moment he puts his arm up, he tries to win the ball with his arm. He gets nowhere near it and clips Awoniyi. It's a foul. Anywhere else on the pitch, that's a foul.
Yeah.
It's just embarrassing. I just think the more I think about it, the more I watch it on Twitter and this, that, and the other, the more it frustrates me. How is he not even getting sent over for a look at that? What is a penalty these days? What is a foul? It's making it worse. It's just stupid. I just don't
That's
get
what
it anymore.
disappointed me most, that they didn't say to him. I mean, I didn't know what Leisha said, and he's spot on. I mean, a ref who's coming up from the Championship isn't going to overrule a referee, is he? Who's been in the Premier League several years, who he probably sees as a role model, as a superior to where he wants to be. So, everything's it's same in it with social media. Everything's binary. It's either a Stonewall penalty, or he chucked himself to the ground, or he bottled it, or etc. etc. You can have a bit of a balanced view on it, and I think like I said, if Alan Shearer, a absolute Newcastle legend, as unbiased as he is saying it's a penalty, I think we've got a very, very fair shot for a penalty, especially with the Jota one as well.
Definitely. So, we'll move just before we move on. We've got 36 people joining us this morning, so thank you very much. Friend of the pod, Tom Newton, has put, we need to sort out our own shot before moaning to the PGML, i.e. defending set pieces. Very, very good point there, Tom. Slick Rick, morning. People saying that we're too good to go down. Echoes this morning, which I don't believe that. It's very much, we're very much in the relegation.
Who said that? Jesus.
No, so Harold has said too good to go down. Echoes this morning, as in like saying people are saying that, but it's definitely not true. No one's too good to go down, unfortunately. But we did obviously shoot ourselves in the foot, as I've named the show today, Reiss, the art of shooting ourselves in the foot. Again. I mean, Nico Williams wins an absolute brilliant tackle from Harvey Barnes, and then Anthony Elanga decides to play the most suicidal pass I've seen for a while. Actually, no, I scrapped that because Nuno Tavares played one last week and we got away with it. But Elanga tries to give it to Morgan Gibbs White, and you give it to probably the most technically gifted player on the pitch in my eye, or one of, if not the most technically gifted, in Bruno Guimaraes, who finishes brilliantly. It's the same old story of give them an inch and they'll take a mile scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, that passes. I mean, Gibbs White's on that half turn, so he's already trying to get up the pitch. I mean, that passes. Yeah, you can't be making that pass, unfortunately. You are given. He's still a young lad in Elanga, and it's something I guess he'll learn from. But yeah, it's just a suicidal ball, and Guimaraes is on it like a flash. And then I think it's Dan Burn. I'm not sure. Am I right in that? Who screens Dominguez? Well, he clearly blocked him off from getting to the ball. That's a foul every day of the week, in my view. He moves. I get if Dominguez runs into him, fair enough. But when Dominguez is running to the ball and he steps across him and blocks him like that, it's a foul. It stops him from closing Bruno Guimaraes down, and Guimaraes shoots. Personally, I thought the keeper should have done a little bit better as well. I thought he should have saved it. People might find that harsh, but I think he's got a decent hand to that, and it's kind of gone under his hand, really. I think if that's Turner or Vlachodimos in God, I think a lot more people would be saying that as well. But because he's just come in cells, and I'm not getting on his back at all, but just because he's come in, they'd probably let him get away with that one a tiny bit. Might be a bit controversial, but I think I'm right in the fact that if that's turnover Lacademos, a lot more people are saying, yeah, he probably should have saved that. But, we go to the root cause of the problem. The pass is silly. And I mean, did they even check for a foul in that? Because it was what happened in the West Ham game at the first home game last season.
Literally about to say that.
Where I think was it Antonio stepped across Mangan, stopped him, and it allowed Guimaraes a clear run at goal. And like you said, Adam, he was their only threat. Gordon, Barnes when he come on, Wilson and Almiron didn't really get much of a sniff. I mean, Wilson I thought was going to start crying at one point because he kept getting knocked off the ball because we gave him no change. I mean, Almiron I didn't think had a kick at all. The first 10 minutes, Gordon had some joy on the wing, but apart from that, I thought Bruno was really the only threat, and he's got the winner. And he's a tidy little player, I must say, very dirty footballer when you watch him, but he's a good player and on the ball, and that killed the game, mate. Unfortunately, I mean, it kind of killed the crowd, and then and what happened then was Newcastle went into a low block. We panicked because we can't counter anymore on a low block, and we can't get in behind. And then what do? We decided to just pump balls into the box when they've got Dan Burn, who, as Dan put on at Twitter, was banging his head on the Trent end. Is that tall? So. And it's just had balls out. Botman and Shaw, pretty big guys, aren't they? They just had them out all day. And that was kind of it. Once it was huffing and puffing then. And the only real, I think, close chance we had was the Gibbs White curler, which was more of an effort, wasn't it, than an opportunity. So it's just frustrating, mate, because every single week we're talking about shooting ourselves in the foot. So, the first goal's someone unmarked. The second goal, we've let the ball bounce. I mean, that's just hooked into an area, that free kick into it. Nothing's really happening. And then the third goal, we can obviously say it's a foul, but at the start, we've given the ball away. And it's the same old 3-2. We're on the other end of a 3-2 scoreline again.
Must be a record for the Premier League, that. Anyway, sorry, Lee.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, in terms of the check, I always think it's a more thorough check when you get the message on the screen saying that they're checking something.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And nothing came up, did it? It's like, I just don't... I wonder if Dominguez was a little bit too hasty to get up. I think if that's on, let's say that's on Bruno, I think he stays down holding his face or something. So then it makes the officials think, actually, we perhaps need to have a look like a more in-depth look at that. Like you say, he's having a clear foul again. I mean, me, I hate doing this sort of thing. I hate coming on a podcast, and I hate turning around and saying, I'll go this afternoon and do a game, and I might get pelters. It might just be one of them sort of weeks. And I'll want to lie down in a dark room afterwards. But it's like when you have a game like that where you get 2 or 3 on and you're on the wrong end of them. It's like, surely these people that support the bigger clubs can see it where we're coming from, because it's every time we play a big club. God, I've just called Newcastle a big club. That's insufferable, isn't it? But it's just every time you play them, like Reiss has said earlier, it's Anthony Taylor from minute one. Like I said, Callum Wilson was going to cry, wasn't it? I think it made me laugh every time he kept going to Taylor's head, say, "Oh, come on, give us one." It's like, are you joking?
What, for just getting knocked off the ball? It's just a podcasting, Callum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad though, isn't it, that we've kind of got to hold his face to get a decision, try and con the referee. Really, that's how sad it is. I mean, Dominguez got straight up and he was appealing because it ended up in the back of his net.
Yeah,
and frustrating.
I mean, after that, we kind of like huffed and puffed. We put Gibbs White into central midfield with Danilo eventually. Reina come on, Origi come on, and we actually had some sustainable pressure. But like you said, Reiss, we didn't really do a lot with it. It was more huff and puff, and trying to get the ball into the box in the air against them three. It's just a losing battle, unfortunately. But I just don't know where we can kind of rectify this or go from it. I mean, it's simple, basic mistakes we're making, and I feel like going forward we're completely fine. We've scored 2 decent goals yet again this weekend, and let in 3 absolute howlers, in my opinion, in terms of mistakes.
I don't think any. I mean, there was a few little. I mean, I loved Steve Cooper and I backed him till the end, but there was a few little on social media again, or what if Coops was in charge, blah blah. We've improved tenfold going forward, attacking wise under Nuno. There's no denying that, in my opinion. But defensively, there's been no improvement at all. I seen a few notions a few weeks ago saying we're tightened up defensively. We haven't. We're still conceding the same goals. the same mistakes. And this isn't, I'm not blaming Nuno for this, but because it's individual errors and you kind of have to feel sorry for the bloke in a way, because we defended again, as I said earlier, pretty well yesterday for the majority of the game. Wilson didn't get a kick, neither did Almiron. We cut Gordon once that first 10, 15 minutes had gone the same. And then what we kind of do is we give quality teams at this level an inch by a mistake, and then they punish us. Championship level, you'll get away with it. Not at this level. Just punished every single time.
Well, it's not like we're getting carved open exactly, is it, Lee?
Well, Sells didn't even make a save, did he, yesterday? I can't remember. Did he push one round the post, I think, at your end early doors, Lee? But that was it.
Yeah,
didn't make a save of note.
Yeah, very early on, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right. I can't disagree with any of that, really. It's just frustrating, isn't it? I think yes, that if we can defend properly, that's a game that we probably win quite comfortably yesterday. And you kind of go away thinking a bit like the Bournemouth game. I go back to the Bournemouth Newcastle game where you think, God, how Bournemouth at the time they were in the bottom three, and you think, God, how are they in the bottom three? Newcastle were rubbish. Obviously, Newcastle's been to Luton, they've lost, haven't they? Their away form's not great, and on yesterday's performance, you can see why. I think their fans must be thinking, finally, something's kind of just gone in our favour. You know, they've got away with a penalty. They've got the ridiculously out of kind of character pass from Elanga that's left Bruno with an easy chance to just sweep it in the bottom corner, I suppose. But yeah, it's just frustrating. It is the same stuff every week defensively, and I totally echo what Reiss has just said with regards to Nuno. You can just see him stood on the sidelines, I think, and every time we concede a goal, he just thinks, "What are we doing?" I mean, we've talked about the goalkeeper situation. Actually, I actually think the fullback situation is probably just as alarming because, I mean, if we're going to play Tavares and Williams for the rest of the season, we're in big trouble, I think. We can't get Aina back quick enough from the AFCON, I don't think. And we talk about Sangare and Bolly. Interesting with Bolly, I'm not quite sure if he's any better than the two that played yesterday. He's perhaps better in the air than Murillo, maybe. But in terms of Aina, we can't get him back quick enough because he can play both sides. He's steady. And yeah, I just don't really see. I just think both Nuno and Williams are very suspect defensively, and I think it showed yesterday.
I mean, we say that, but like Reiss said, Almiron and Gordon didn't get too much joy, but yeah,
The first 10, 15 minutes, Gordon, but after that, I mean, Almiron, you kind of forgot he was even playing Almiron, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
From half time up until they got that third goal, I thought they looked knackered. I thought they looked the carbon copy of what they did up there. And I thought if we could have got at third, I generally think we'd have probably scored again because they would have, once they got at third, they went into a low block. And because it was probably tired, I thought, well, we're not going to let Elanga get in behind us or Tavares. If we'd have got ahead, they would have come out more, so they'd have left gaps in behind. I think would have exploited it again. That third goal was key, and there was no surprise where it kind of just quietened the crowd. That goal, it was such a shame. Because we'd have got that, we'd have won the game, in my opinion.
Just before getting into some select on thoughts, I did want to ask, like, just a genuine question, like, what is the solution to this problem? Is it the lack of, like, some people in the comments have mentioned a lack of leaders, like last season we had Navas and Felipe. Some people have said like Bolly's is someone that can take responsibility because of his aerial ability. But like for me, it is literally just like schoolboy errors. I don't know what about like what you think about midfield as well, because obviously people are saying once Sangare comes back, does he replace Yates? And that he's your captain. He's supposed to be our captain. I don't really see it in my eyes what he does, but you know,
I guess you'd say with Yates on the captaincy thing, you'd probably say it's similar to Lewis Grabban in that he's a leader in terms of his professionalism. People used to get on Grabban's back into, well, he's not very vocal, is this? But Lewis Grabban was probably an ultimate professional, like Ryan Yates is. These days of having a shouter and a screamer in the team, I look at a lot of clubs' captains and don't really see themselves as a shouter or a screamer. They probably just kind of lead by example by the performances on the pitch. Now that's another debate entirely, which I'm not going to get into. I don't know, mate. I mean, it's the same old every week, isn't it? We're conceding the same goals. What's the solution? I've no idea. I mean, what I said at the start of the show, where we let a manager who's on the verge of getting sacked. I mean, you can say, oh, well, he might have turned it round. But, Marinakis and Cooper's relationship had broken down by that point. We've allowed a manager who's on the verge of getting sacked to bring in somebody he knows as a set-piece coach, rather than the club saying, no, we're bringing in a specialist set-piece coach. He's going to come in and he's going to work with him because he's a specialist set-piece coach. And then if obviously Cooper does go, which he did a few weeks later, he's in situ. I just find that decision a bit baffling, to be honest, unless it's kind of a PR thing from the club of, oh, we're not, choosing what the manager wants, but we've chosen plenty of players what the manager didn't want. So, why not choose a coach as well while we're at it? I don't know what the solution is, mate. I really don't.
Lee?
I again agree with a lot of what Reiss has just said. We're agreeing on a lot this morning, Reiss. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Reiss in terms of the leaders. I think gone are the days where I think if you start shouting and barking at people like Roy Keane used to do, then footballers they're mollycoddled in this day and age, aren't they? They get arsey about it. So, I can see why Yates is the captain in this current squad. I mean, he's the longest serving player. Sun shines out his backside, doesn't it? I suppose, but there's enough leaders in that dressing room though to not. I don't think it's as clear cut as we need more leaders. I think there will be a game, if I can put a positive spin on it, I think there will be a game where something clicks defensively, whether it's when we've got Aina back at one of the fullback spots or we give Toffolo a game somewhere down the line. I just think it will click and we will beat someone. And I do actually think playing West Ham might be a decent-ish game. I don't think it's the worst. If we were playing City or someone like that, you think, oh, God, here we go again. We're going on a bit of a run. But the fact it's at home, I thought the atmosphere was increased yesterday. I know we've said on this podcast before, the atmosphere isn't the be-all and end-all. But I think it was much better yesterday. I think even when we were behind and when things were going against us, we stayed on top of the team. So I do think it will click at some point. I don't think even in this league, I don't think you can keep doing the same things. I just think it's going to click somewhere defensively. So hopefully we can do that. And I'm at the point where I think one good result again, and I think things might look a bit rosier. I do think it's quite interesting that we keep losing and forgetting the points deduction we might potentially have. We keep losing, but we're still not in the bottom three. So I think while that's the case, I think the players will kind of keep their heads up. And I just expect at some point that something's going to click defensively, and we'll think that was a bit like the Villa game when we were mint defensively. Let's face it, weren't we? So I think that sort of performance defensively is just around the corner.
I don't think we played badly yesterday again.
No, I don't
think it was a bad performance. I thought we actually played well. We gave it everything. It's just a stupid, and we're all the exact same on this pod. And I'm sure that every other fan's the same. We're just frustrated because we're literally shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're gifting teams results. And I mean, I kind of agree with Lee on the West Ham one. It's a game where I look at and think, we can beat them at home. And to be fair, it's turning into a kind of a must-win, really, because you look at the fixtures. You look at the fixtures after it. But the concern is they've got the best set-piece specialists in the league, and we can't defend them. That's the worry, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, we're going to get into some slept on it thoughts, but on a rosier note, at least, guys, we're going to have an AFCON winner, at least one. And Darby's records is still intact. So positives on a Sunday morning, but let's get into your slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
Thank you as ever for everyone getting in touch, and I do apologise in advance for anyone that I can't read out, but let's start it off. So Jerry Pritchard started slowly and too passive. The press and pace changed the game and we were better the team for 60-ish minutes. However, we gave away sloppy chances. All 3 goals were poor defensively. What was Elanga doing? Had enough chances to win that game. We need more attacking patterns. Ian, we can't keep relying on the bottom 3 to keep losing. We have to get out of this mess ourselves and start by not conceding awful goals. Our defending was atrocious again. Every week it's the same thing. We are going down if this continues. Jarvalio, quite enjoyed it considering. Bit sad that the new keeper seems bang average too. Die for the third like a poorly demolished chimney. Martin Fretwell, continuous schoolboy defending is sending us down, not the crap referees, and I still have no clue what the head coach sees in Tavares or Origi. Mike Brown still confused about the mythical home advantage. That means you get marginal decisions, individuals getting better, team gelling. Tavares, all the ingredients for a player except a brain when shooting distance, set piece delivery is better, positionally still bad. Capacity and function, failing to control the controllables and blaming the uncontrollables isn't a recipe for survival. Still looking for intangibles like fans pushing us on or some players hitting purple patches. Remain too easy to score against. Hard work constantly undermined. Very nervous. Frank the Tank, is it worth having VAR if the people using it have unconscious biases to teams because of league position? If that was Liverpool or City player, they get 2 pens. Forest, of course, get none. Premier Elliott could be worse. I think we'll stay up. Just got to keep faith. Also, Nunes Tavares would be a great player if his final touch wasn't as bad as Diakabe's first touch. Keep up the great work on the pod. Thank you, Elliott. Sam, how many more games are we going to lose 3-2? So frustrating one overall. We play well and get nothing for it. Not sure why the ref was only giving fouls for GBH, but ultimately our fault for poor defending first half. Probably Nuno's best game other than the 2 shots going into orbit. Reiss Coy, masters of our own downfall once again. Positive changes from Nuno seem to have the opposite effect on the team. The pen gets given all day if that was a defender's leg rather than the keeper's arm. Playing well and losing isn't a good sign. Things need to improve and quickly. And last of all, but no means least, Carl Booth thought we looked good going forward after a slow start. Morgan Gibbs-White, Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi always a threat, but ultimately the team with the fewer defensive errors won the game. Penalty shouts were a bit of a stretch. We must stop defensive errors. Thank you very much for everyone getting in touch with them. So many to go through, so sorry can't do it all, but we'll get into some player performances. I did forget to read Christian's because he did send it into our group chat, so I will read Christian. I do apologise.
Say one of the
words. I will not say the expletive that Christian has intended for Anthony Taylor. Never want to see a 3-2 scoreline again. Our defending from set pieces is horrendous, as that's the game we could and should have won, but I shot ourselves in the foot again because we can't deal with the basic threat. Good to see Callum Hudson-Odoi proving people wrong and Elanga back in the goals. Though, if that bold Anthony Taylor is in the top percentile of English rest of the sport is in this country, is ruined for a generation worse than Langford, should I say. So I think a lot of people are kind of on the same wavelength there, but we are going to get to some player performances. Reiss, I'm going to give you Anthony, Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi in a joint player performance from you, please.
I mean, I'll start with Elanga. The 2 runs in the first half were absolutely superb, weren't we? I mean, there were calls last season for Dan Burn to kind of be in the England squad. Well, I mean, Elanga in them 2 runs really retired him, didn't he, the poor bloke? The 2 finishes are what we've kind of had from Elanga, isn't it? The first one, really, he should score. He kind of hits it straight at the keeper. Like I said earlier, needed a bit of laugh. And then he gets another bite of the cherry with a second and he slots it through his legs and it's a great finish. And then it was just such a shame that, as I said, second half, and Newcastle knew it. They're not daft, aren't they? Eddie Howe's a solid manager. They're not silly. Once they got ahead, they went to that low block because that was our concern for them, was us getting in behind. And Elanga, when the back four sat on the edge of the 18-yard box, he ain't going to get in behind, is he? Rather than the halfway line. So, yeah, good to see him get another goal. I mean, he's proved to be a bit of a bargain, haven't we, for what we've paid for him and what his outlay's been. I mean, how many goal contributions is that now, Adam?
11 now.
11. So if he gets, towards maybe 20, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Both contributions, goals and assists, that'd be good. And you never know, to be honest, especially even if we are at this level, there might be other clubs looking at him because he's absolutely rapid, isn't he? So yeah, it was good to see him back in the goals. Hudson-Odoi, yeah, I thought he was one of our best players last night. I actually thought he gave Trippier a really hard time. I must say, I think Trippier's aged quite a bit in a year with his performance. I mean, last season I thought it was absolutely superb, steady. Last night I thought he looked a bit rickety, personally, and a bit of a worry. And it's like, I mean, he's knocking on a bit. He's 33, isn't he? So, Father Time does catch up with players. But I thought Hudson-Odoi was direct, kept running as much as he could. And to be honest, every time he does that little cut inside, where he's going to whip it with his right foot. You fancy him scoring, to be honest. I know he got very, very lucky at the deflection, but he's had a dig, it's deflected, it's gone in. And then there was a couple of other times where he did that and he just couldn't quite get the ball out his feet to pull the trigger, or stuttered a little bit, which is something what goes through the whole team, really. We kind of need to have a pop a bit more when we get it on the edge of the box. Sometimes we overplay it a little bit, don't we? But yeah, positive from both of them last night. Hopefully they can carry on that form, because going forward, attacking wise, they're a massive threat when they're both on the game. And with how many we seem to concede, we need some goals, don't we? So yeah, I thought both of them played pretty well personally.
Yeah, I thought Hudson
Hudson
was
Odoi
excellent.
getting a bit of confidence into it. There's a couple of times when he kind of underfoot him, where I know it's not his game, but where he's got to kind of go and win the ball. You know what I mean? A couple of tackles where I think Trippier was a bit forceful and he underfoot him. But yeah, I think he's steadily getting better, which is good, which is what we want. So hopefully they can carry on that form.
Yeah, I thought he was excellent. He drove at Trippier a lot, and at Newcastle in general, and I thought he got us on the front foot. But moving swiftly on, Lee, I've gave you to start with Nuno Tavares. I thought actually it was one of his better games other than his shooting, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually think this is a thing with Forest fans that I notice, and I don't just mean social media. I mean people in the ground as well. Like one bad performance for certain players, and they're all of a sudden rubbish. I actually think Tavares did okay yesterday. Do I think he's the answer long term? No, I don't. I think if certainly when Aina comes back, I think there's definitely, certainly while Montiel's injured, Williams is probably going to play on the right. So I think Aina comes straight back in on the left. But yeah, I thought he was okay. He's a very bizarre player, though, isn't he? He'll do something.
We say this every week, don't we?
He'll do something really, really good, really amazing. I think he played a really good pass in the build up to Hudson Odoi's goal. I think it was the first goal. Sorry, the second goal that we scored. But yeah, it was, and then the chance where he was like, he was never going to score from such an acute angle, and he's got three players queuing up, and he decided to shoot. So yeah, his decision making leaves a lot to be desired. But yeah, I thought he was okay yesterday. I think, like I say, it's one of them things where he's the sort of player now where his bad stuff is highlighted and everyone just says, "Oh, he's rubbish." When I think there probably is a player in there. I think his form at Marseille last year probably says that there is a player in there. But yeah, he certainly wasn't as bad as some of the comments I've seen from certain people and what I heard in the ground as well about him. I think he did okay yesterday. I think by no means was he our worst player, put it that way.
Yeah, and then I gave the other player I gave you is Nicolas Dominguez, who I thought was arguably man of the match in my opinion. I thought he was excellent. And another question, kind of like to follow him up as well, is like who do you think partners him in the future, especially with Iram Sangare coming back, and obviously Danilo kind of getting in and out of the team at the moment.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I tell you, we definitely shouldn't partner him, but that's probably a different conversation that we might have later in the pod. Yeah, I think Dominguez is brilliant. I think I made a point on social media after the game yesterday. I think Dominguez is everything that certain fans think Ryan Yates is. If anyone can give me an argument why Ryan Yates should play without using the analogy that he runs a lot, then I'll probably call them a liar, because I don't think he offers anything else. I don't think he does anything. But yeah, Dominguez was good. I think he's another bargain. I think we talk about our recruitment being bad sometimes. He's another bargain. £8 million. He's arguably come in as, because Freuler was included in the deal, he's arguably came in as like a Freuler replacement, and 25 years old. He's younger than Freuler. He offers more than Freuler in this league, let's face it. So yeah, he's another really good nod towards our recruitment. I think it's another good signing. He covers every single blade of grass, Dominguez, and it's one of them where certain players get lauded as absolutely incredible when they run a lot, but for Dominguez, it's kind of like, oh, he doesn't really do anything else. Well, he does offer lots of stuff. I think I was just looking at some stats actually, because I anticipated you might give me one of the centre midfielders. His pass success ratio yesterday was among the best in our team. So, yeah, what we need is someone who can kind of fill the void that Mangala's left in terms of like passes and getting things moving. And I think Dominguez showed yesterday that he can perhaps be that sort of centre midfielder. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think he probably was our best player yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued to see that when Sangare comes back from AFCON, if he then becomes the Mangala kind of replacement in terms, because he can play on the half term, and we've all seen his ability to actually go past the player here and there and open up play. So I think that's a real recipe for us going forward in terms of a Sangare Dominguez partnership in there with Gibbs White just in front. I think that could be something that would work for us in terms of going forward. And obviously Sangare offers us that protection because he's big and he's lanky and he can get a foot in here and there. So hopefully that kind of helps us going forward and hopefully trying to win more games. But you're kind of praying that Ivory Coast don't win today, and so we can get him back a bit earlier because he's just going to party for the rest of the week.
To be fair, it's on the basis as well that if he's fully fit, because Nuno mentioned before he did go he wasn't fully fit. He obviously had, his leg broke nearly by Mane, and he was dropped to the bench after that. I don't know whether that's an impact of that injury. Maybe he's a bit sore or whatever, or they've just decided to rotate.
He didn't look sore when he was jumping up and down with that bib in the semi-final.
He was ripped, wasn't he? I must say.
Yeah.
The worry for me with Sangare is, he's copped quite a bit of flack before he went to AFCON, and now he's kind of being built up as this messiah who's going to solve all his problems when he comes back. I guarantee it, if he's back, whether it be the West Ham game or it'll be United
United in the Cup, yeah.
Guarantee if he doesn't play well, people will be on his back again.
Yeah, of course he will. He's an expensive signing, and obviously he's had a dozen games to get. People have wrote him off after a dozen games, whereas some get hundreds. So it is what it is, isn't it, with Forest?
I'm very aware that we were going to try and keep this to an hour, so we'll move swiftly on. But we did eventually overcome the sticky team that is Bristol City in the FA Cup to advance to the 5th round. We've got Man United at home in the next round on the 28th of February, I think it is, or is it on the leap year day?
28th of February, yeah.
A great birthday present for your Emma Reiss.
just a 7th time in 2 seasons of playing them after not playing them for 25 years nearly.
Yeah. What briefly from both of you, what do you make of that tie? Do you think we can get through quarterfinal? That would be quite a nice stage to get to again. 2 games away from Wembley. Although I don't agree with semi-finals at Wembley, but it'd still be nice if we got there.
Yeah, of course it would. I totally agree with you, Adam. It's kind of diminished the FA Cup, the semi-finals being at Wembley personally. I get the FA's point of, it's paying for the stadium, but, is having 2 semi-finals at Wembley really going to put a lot more money into paying for the stadium, but that's up to them. Is it a game we can win? Yeah, it is, but, United hit a little bit of form, haven't they, recently, since we've kind of beat them at our place. With United, it's one of them, isn't it? It's kind of how they rock up. If they rock up and think play how they can, then they're a better side than us and they'll beat us. If they rock up and are half-arsed and we're at it like we was in the game just before the new year, we can beat them. So is it an ideal tie? Probably not, but at least we're at home, so we're in it. As for the Bristol City game, yeah. We started really well, got off to a perfect start, and then we concede, as we always do. And to be honest, Bristol City missed several chances in extra time. They probably should have won our fought on the night, and I would have said fair enough if they had won. Thankfully, we had some really good penalties, and Turner managed to keep one out, which is good. But thankfully, there's no replays in this round, so we won't be having another game. But we'll see. Regards to Man U game, there's obviously a couple of more games. If Man U have a stinking performance in one of them games, they're in a bit of a crisis with the media. So we'll kind of see what happens. We obviously need to win a game. And it kind of is so Forest to probably draw on Saturday or something, lose to Villa and then go and beat Man U. That'd be very Forest, wouldn't it? And then lose to Coventry or something in the quarterfinals away. That'd be very Forest, something like that. But we'll see. To be honest, I love the FA Cup. You guys know that, but it's a bit of a back burner into it at the minute. The league's, the full pretty much 90% of the priority into it, really. We need points in the league more than a win in the FA Cup.
Definitely.
Obviously, both would be nice.
Yeah. Lee, anything to add?
Not really. I think I agree with everything Reiss has said again. I think it's nice to get through. It's nice to be in the hat. A game against Man United is obviously going to ensure the City ground's packed. We have beat them once, I suppose, this season, haven't we? I think it'd be more Forest to go and bloody win the FA Cup and get relegated.
I said this last
Be
week.
like going Coyle's Wigan when we were in Europe.
Yeah,
and it finished like
Birmingham, I think,
19th
were in
in
it
the
as well, weren't
Championship
they?
as well. Yeah. So I think there's not much to say, is there? I mean, it's funny. I think we waited years and years to play Man United, and I think our FA Cup game was the 7th meeting in 2 seasons with United.
Yeah, Reiss mentioned that. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can win. In terms of the Bristol City game, I confess, I didn't see a single minute of it. Didn't see a single second of it. I've seen the highlights. Like Reece says, typical Forest performance. Go in front, and you think it's going to be a comfortable night. Within minutes, they're back in front. Obviously, it gave Derby fans something to cheer, didn't it? That's what they've resorted to these days, cheering a former player who they got peanuts for scoring against us in the FA Cup.
Makes journalists' hearts so full, don't it? Why not concentrate on beating Shrewsbury? I say, oh no, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, that's it. It was highlight of their week, wasn't it? The former player, like I said,
that just shows you how far above them at the minute.
Yeah, that star-studded academy they've got. I think Jason Knight went for about 2 million, didn't they? I mean, what an amazing, what an academy.
To the massive Bristol City.
I'm not going to gloat.
Nothing really to add in terms of the FA Cup. I think it'll be a good game against United. I think we can win. Whether we will is obviously which United turn up again, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm not going to gloat too much about the Derby thing because at the moment, in terms of my fear, we could be playing each other again next season.
Yeah, I have to say,
well, there's a possibility. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's going to happen again at some point.
Yeah, I have to say, I do think they'll get promoted, but I've got friends who are Derby fans, and they said their football is absolutely awful. And Emma's mate said apparently they got booed off again yesterday, and they sat in second.
Booed off for being second.
They sat second in the league, and all they wanted was a club wanted. But let's move on.
Yeah. So just before we finish, we've got West Ham next week. We lost 3-2 in the game before we played. What
a surprise that is!
The common scoreline of the season where we did go 1-0 down, went 2-1 up, and then inevitably lost 3-2 with 2 set piece goals. It's a theme of the season, guys. But Reece, what are your thoughts going into the West Ham game? Do you think we can actually get a result first of all? And what are your score predictions?
It's Liverpool, isn't it? Well, Villa after, and then Liverpool. I mean, we also lost to Liverpool 3-2 last season, so there's another 3-2. I mean, how many times we're going to say in the reverse fixture of games this season, we lost 3-2 to them. Brighton obviously coming up soon. West Ham, I mean, they're a funny side, aren't they, West Ham? Like, they went to Arsenal and, beat them, and then, they got whacked at Fulham like 5-0, for example. They're a very funny side, West Ham. It kind of seems, whether David Moyes wants to be, if he actually wants to let them off the leash for a game, they seem to get results. And then if he, limits them, they seem to stink it out. I think I did say on the last pod that I thought West Ham was the more winnable game. Well, now it's obviously got to be that. And I do think we can beat West Ham. The worry is, as I said earlier, is that they've got the best set piece taker in the league, or one of, for sure. And we can't defend them. So, it's turning into a must-win, and I don't like using that phrase lightly, but it is, because you look at the games we kind of got after. Villa away. Villa are absolutely brilliant at home. I know they've lost a couple recently, but on the whole, I mean, Liverpool are flying this season. So you look at this one as one where you've got to really go out and win. And you know what? Let's go on the flip of the 3-2 scoreline and saying we're going to win 3-2 this time.
Blimey.
Because there's no chance in a million years that they've got James Ward-Prowse in their team and they don't score from a set piece.
Oh, yeah, especially when they got...
And I hope I've jinxed it with that, and that'll do me nicely.
I suppose when they got Souček and Alvarez and the likes attacking the ball. But yeah, Lee...
Yeah. Well, we let Jared Bowen score at header down at the Taxpayer Stadium, didn't we? So...
Oh, yeah, bloody crap. Right, Go on, Lee.
I'm going to finish with some positivity, and I think we'll win. I think if we play like we did yesterday going forward, I just anticipate, like I've said, that something's going to click at the back. I do think they'll score. I agree with what Reece has just said in terms of James Ward-Prowse. It'd be nice if he got some sort of injury this week, I suppose, wouldn't it? Do they play today, West Ham?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's pray for a red card for Ward-Prowse or something. I mean, what I hope we don't get is the bloody loving with James Ward-Prowse after, why can't we take set pieces like that? Because he's world-class at home. He's just a unique specimen when it comes to whipping corners in. It doesn't mean that our players are all tragic at taking them. I just hope we don't get that again. And hopefully a win will stop those sort of comments. So I think we'll win. I think it'll be... It's going to be a goal fest, isn't it? We're not going to... I'd love a 1-0 at the minute, but I think we'll score. So to be different to Reiss, I'll go for 2-1 to Forest. But I do anticipate it might be 3-2, to be fair.
Yeah, well,
probably.
I've decided in the last 30 seconds of my thinking, I'm going to go for something a little outrageous, and I think it will be like a super goal fest, like peak Barclays, 5-3 Forest.
5-3.
That's what I'm going for.
You've got to have a pound on that.
I'm gonna have a pound. I'll have a pound on it, and then any winnings, I'll donate to charity or something. Right, but anyway, I've just got this weird feeling it's going to be loads of goals and like zero and totally inept defending from both sides.
You think we're going to score 5 goals?
We'll concede from 3 set pieces, no doubt about it. And we'll score 5 brilliant goals. And
to be honest,
take that all
the last time Ward-Prowse was at the City ground, it was a 4-3, wasn't it? I mean,
true, yeah.
I think he put a couple of. Did he put in a free kick that game he scored from?
That Lianco scored, didn't he?
Yeah, Lianco scored, didn't he? Header.
He scored a penalty and he scored. They scored from a corner. So 5-3. I think West Ham. It's going to be a good game. I think it'll be a good atmosphere, and we'll take it to them hopefully in terms of attacking sense. But we can't defend because we're totally crap at it.
Attacking wise, you fancy scoring against pretty much every team.
Yeah,
because with the pace on his attack. You know, it's just
absolutely.
We're fine going forward. Like I know we don't need to talk on it again because we spoke about it in this podcast, but in terms of since Nuno came in, we've been absolutely fine going forward. We really have. I've got no problem that we'll score goals. It's just if we'll keep enough out to stay in the league for me.
Yeah,
definitely. Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this morning's Red Side of the Trent. If you've not obviously joined us on YouTube, then you can listen back on Spotify and on YouTube. If you can leave us a like and a subscribe, that'd be bloody brilliant. We'll see you in the week for a West Ham preview. But otherwise, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and come on, you Reds.